Hey everybody, welcome back. Dr. Jaws here, and tonight we are going to return to format and talk about a new shark species and focus or devote the episode entirely to this species. This one is also a new genus. We've not seen this one before on the channel. This is Nasolamia velox, the whitenose shark. So I picked this species because I don't know anything about it. It is a Pacific species that is on the eastern Pacific. So this is the west coast of the mostly Mexico. I think you can find a few individuals, like a few strays, in Southern California, but mostly Mexico, Central America, and South America. And not too much information on the species, but I'm excited to learn about it. We do have some research and a couple of like really cool dive videos of its location, like where it lives. So I think without further ado, we'll dive into the whitenose shark, and I believe this is the only member of the genus Nasolamia. So I'm excited. So this is one of the few photos we have of the species, and one thing that you can immediately see is this little black spot at the very tip of the nose, which also has a white margin where it gets its name from. So the white-nosed shark is a typical, it almost is a typical requiem shark build, but the snout is actually pretty long and narrow. So that's a little bit more like a sharp-nosed shark. Fairly large eyes, and fairly large gills as well. But that black spot at the tip of the snout is distinctive for this species. It's almost similar to a black-nosed shark, but black-nosed sharks are in the genus Conroe-Nicholls, and they have a little bit of a broader snout, whereas white-nosed sharks have a more pointed snout. So, not too many photos of the species. There is one by I believe this is David Ebert, has the Lost Shark Guy account on Instagram, and he has this picture of an individual. Looks like a juvenile that was found in California. So that's a range expansion. So the post from him is the white-nosed shark Nasolamia velox is sixth most recent new shark species discovered off of California. First reported in 2020. Lots to still be discovered here. Whitenose shark pictured here was taken in Peru by my good friend and collaborator Joanna Alfaro Chigueto, an awesome shark researcher. So this is a species that has been known since 1898, but is again not really super well known compared to other kinds of sharks. So. And there's not, unfortunately, like a lot of dive videos. I don't think there's any videos of the species, but there's a couple like photographs as we'll continue through tonight. So, on Fishbase for a white-nosed shark, again discovered in 1898. The name Nasolamia comes from nasus, which means nose, referring to the large transverse nostrils and narrow conical snout, and then lamia for shark-like fish, so kind of like lamniforms. So that's where the term lamniforms comes from. Velox is Latin for swift or speedy, illusion not explained, perhaps referring to its swimming velocity, inferred by its slender form. So velox is the same word that goes into velocity, but velociraptor. And here's actually another photo of the white-nosed shark. And kind of interesting side view, because this looks a lot like a chunkier sharp-nosed shark. It has a pointed snout just like sharp-nosed sharks, like Rhizopriodon, but it also has the white spots, kind of like a sharp-nosed shark. But overall, the girth is it's not as slender as sharp-nosed sharks. It's a lot more girthy. So, hey quackers, welcome back. Hope you're doing well, and hope you had a great weekend. It's good to see you. Hope things are going well. I don't know if you saw on the community page, but I got back from my dive in New Jersey. Didn't see any sharks, unfortunately, but saw a lot of cool wildlife just in general. So I posted some of the highlights on the community page, but including, it was a huge like black sea bass spot. There's so many black sea bass in around the seabed, so it was really really cool. And what was really fun to see is that let me pull up just a picture of what these are. Actually, I will pull up the community page picture. So it's one of my favorite fish species in this area. Hold on. Sorry for the delay. But this past weekend, I've been just taking time to go through all the footage and see what I can see. Also, there's your amazing artwork on the channel. So thank you again for this really really cool tiger shark piece. Proudly displayed as the official artwork for 2026 into next year for the channel banner. So. But here we go. So this is this is a sea robin. So these fish are really cool. They kind of crawl along the seabed with their modified pectoral fins, which you can't see them here, but the pectoral fins act like little fingers, just kind of like patrolling, almost like little crab claws. And they're shielded by this beautiful, large. I'm sorry. These are the pectoral fins. Their pelvic fins are modified. But these are like really, really beautiful how they are enlarged like this. So very billowing, just a really, really beautiful species. There's quite a handful of sea robins in the world, but this one, the northern sea robin, is the predominant one in this region. So very, very pretty animal. This is the black sea bass, which I mentioned earlier. This fish is really cool and actually kind of tricky, where it undergoes a lot of different color transformations throughout its lifetime. So this is actually another black sea bass here. This is a juvenile in the lower left, and the juveniles have lighter coloration and a very conspicuous dark band across their sides. So they almost look like an entirely different fish species, but then as they get older, they turn into this individual, which is darker, kind of almost black. This is kind of where it gets its name, but it has these really pretty white spots that are they're just scattered all around along the edges of the scales. It's a really beautiful animal. Black sea bass are also really interesting. Is that there's quite a few fish that are hermaphroditic throughout their life, and black sea bass are one of them. They actually change sex as they get older. So if I'm not mistaken, I believe they're female when they're young, but they become male as they reach a certain size. So it's a really cool fish that undergoes a lot of different changes throughout its life. So it's just really, it's one of the most fascinating fish that we have on our coast, and it's actually a very popular game fish too. So we have a tautog. It's a little bit of a fuzzy photo, but these are really cool cousins of parrotfish. They are a kind of wrasse. The males and females are also very different from each other in appearance. So this one is a female. Females have this like really pretty kind of pattern on their side that is like modeling of like light and dark bars. Males have like a solid auburn or brown color, and they get to be a pretty huge size too. We got some sea stars. I think these are Forbes sea stars or common sea stars, but I'm not 100% sure. Cunner, which is a kind of wrasse. It's also a cousin of a tautog and a parrotfish. So this is it's not a great photo, but this is a pretty common wrasse up in the northeast. Some sponges. So this one is actually called a boring sponge. So the sulfur yellow color is kind of the distinctive feature for it. So, or to help identify it, but also just how it grows on anything really. But in this case, a rock. It almost looks like a brick actually. So. Northern puffer, kind of blurry, but I was happy to catch this on camera. So these guys are pretty common in the dive site I went to in Point Pleasant. And they inflate, of course, if they are endangered, but if they're not, they just have this more streamlined body, and they're actually pretty swift swimmers. And then finally got a green crab. I think this is a green... Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a green crab. It's just the claw is really, really huge, and I'm not sure how that kind of came to be, but this one actually took a swipe at my camera. So overall, really fun dive. So just a lot of nice little showcase of mid-Atlantic northeastern species off of the coast of New Jersey. So I was very happy with who I ran into. No sharks though, which is really sad. So Just yeah, just catching up with the comments. Parrotfish are such weird little guys. Love them. They're so cool. I so desperately want someone to record them making their snot bubbles. I actually don't know this. This is interesting. What are parrotfish snot bubbles? I'm not sure what that is actually. In older studies, they would just turn on the lights and off and off to observe. But it's 2026. Can we have night vision cams? No. Um, so for I'm so interested in the snot bubbles. Just in terms of the parrotfish. The weird parrotfish fact I know is the fact that because they chew on coral so much and allow it to digest, they actually excrete a lot of the sand that is in tropical beaches is actually parrotfish or the result of parrotfish contribution. So just how they digest. Probably the coolest parrotfish I've ever seen in my life is a blue parrotfish. It's been a very, very long time, but I went to Aruba when I was a teenager. This is cool. When they go to sleep, they make this mucus sheath. It's like a very thick bubble that goes over their entire body, and they sleep in it. Very interesting. So, what's extremely cool about that is I know that reef fish, they do have like a film. That is so, so interesting. Parrotfish snot bubble. Reef fish have a film that they have. Oh, wow. Oh, that is so interesting. Wow, I have never heard of this. Oh my gosh. It's almost... What? Okay, definitely gotta find a clip of this. I mean, I believe it, because a lot of fish do, very strange things like that. So a lot of reef fish do have mucus on their skin to help protect them from coral. That is so funny. Oh my gosh, look at that. And I'm not sure what species this is. This almost looks like a blue parrotfish. It's kind of hard to tell. This is so interesting. And it's cool to see that they have these hyper-modified plates around their mouth. So this is for chewing coral, like breaking it through. Wow, look at that. So you learn something new every day. I have never, ever heard of this before. So, wow. Thank you for teaching me something new. I had no idea this was a thing. So, for sharks, the closest thing I can think of, and it's not really snot, but it's more like a mucus, is basking sharks exude a slime, like this kind of creepy dark black slime on their bodies. And the theory is they do this to help prevent lampreys from attaching to their backs. So, but really, really interesting. Oh, it's very entertaining to see a fellow nerd see this for the first time. I thought it was either for predator protection or protection against some kind of parasite. Interesting. I'm not really sure because like I'm inclined to wonder if it's predator protection where maybe it's just like obfuscates the parrotfish well enough. So wait, that's black slime. Yes. So let me see if I can find basking shark slime. There's learn about basking shark slime. Here we go. Let's see. Learn about basket shark slime with Professor Les Noble. I could accept all of the cookies. So we might have seen this before, but this researcher actually collects basket shark slime, and this is the dorsal fin of a basket shark here. And it looks like it's a podcast, so I'm just gonna skim through. Oh, here we go. So there's a basket shark right here. Let's see. Okay, so we spoke to a guy called Simon Barrow at Galloway University. Simon was putting rototags on the sharks and gained small pieces of material from them. One shark was being very tricky, and its tail swiped across Simon's rib, and it left this slime across the front of the hole, which he collected. Other researchers at the university were extracting DNA from tissue samples, and Les asked them if they could find DNA from the mucus. Surprisingly, a lot of it was found. So they collected to kind of find genetic information on basking sharks, which is a great non-invasive way to do that. So this is a pretty interesting. Oh, and there we go. Just bottles of basket shark, bottles of basket shark slime next to. This is a true ichthyologist fridge. Bottles of basket shark slime next to a McKay's orange jelly jar. It's ridiculous, but this is exactly what marine biologists do. It's so funny. Um, oh my gosh. So yeah, I'm gonna put this in the chat because this is actually really interesting. Like a really interesting study. So let's see. Does this not? Oh yes. Yep. So I think it is a predator or a parasite deterrent slime. But really cool that it does have DNA. So very 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 cool. And then just a passing glance through it, or just kind of reading through that article, it was saying that they were able to determine a genetic difference between northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere populations, which is extremely cool because basket sharks are ocean voyagers, but it might kind of indicate that maybe some individuals or populations are restricted to a certain basin. So really, really interesting stuff. Getting back to the white cheek shark, let's see. So we talked about its Latin name. The distribution is Baja California, Mexico, and the Gulf of California, Peru. Depth range is 15 to 192 meters, so pretty shallow water shark, usually 15 to 24 meters. Let's see. Biology: found inshore and offshore on the continental shelves. Feeds on small bony fish, including anchovies and crabs. Viviparous with 5 young in the litter. Size at birth about 53 centimeters, so very, very small shark. Not known to have attacked people, of course, because it's a very small shark. Utilized fresh and frozen for human consumption and processed for fish meal. Let's see. There's another photograph of the species. This one is 2016. So this actually is a good view of what the shark is all about. So again, a little bit girthier than Sharp-nosed shark, so it's not rhizoperodon. It's a little bit too large for that. Very interesting dorsal fin, where the dorsal fin is a rounded shape, and the second dorsal fin also is a bit rounded too. So not pointed like a lot of other sharks. It actually pretty long trailing edge too. Relatively short pectoral fins. The caudal fin, the lower lobe is actually relatively larger. The upper lobe is pretty standard for carcharinids. The snout is somewhat pointed, and the namesake for the species comes from the pigmentation, where that white underbelly kind of like creeps up to the tip of the nose, where it gets its name. So other sharks, the dark pigmentation is at the edge of the nose or the tip of the nose, but white-nosed sharks, the light pigmentation is right at the kind of like sneaking up above the. If you had to like kind of draw a line right at the midpoint of the tip of the snout, it looks like that white coloration is above that line. So. Common names for this are Cazon, Coyotito, Pico Blanco, Tiburon, so a lot of Spanish names. And then in English, it is just requiem shark or white-nosed shark. So not really super creative, but but it works. So. Sorry. Let's see. So Diagnostic features: body rather slender, head very narrow. Let's see. Color light gray to brownish gray above, without a color pattern. Adults 1.6 meters, so that's about 4 feet maximum size. Then here's the range. We'll probably get a better. Oh, actually, it's probably not correct because it's got this one little data point in New England. So we'll probably get a better understanding of the range here. There we go. So white-nosed sharks can be found predominantly in Mexico, in Baja California, Central America, down the coast of Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, and Ecuador, as well as Peru. So tropical to warm temperate range overall in the eastern Pacific. And unfortunately, it's an endangered species, so I'm glad that we're going to be talking about it a little bit tonight. Just because of its conservation status. It's not really a shark that I'm familiar with, and I feel like a lot of people may not be familiar with this particular species. But let's see why it might be endangered. And that's actually especially important because of its genus, Nasolamia. It's the only member of this genus. So let's see what we have going on. The white-nosed shark, Nasolamia velox, is a small requiem shark that occurs in the eastern, central, and southeast Pacific from Baja California and Mexico to Peru over the continental shelf at a depth of 192 meters. It is captured in artisanal gillnet and longline fisheries and in industrial shrimp trawls throughout its range. Land-use records of sharks from the Gulf of California, artisanal fisheries where gillnet fishing pressure is intense, indicate a decline in white-nosed shark landings from 600 tons in 1969 to 200 tons in 2014, with fishing ongoing. Targeted fisheries for sharks, including the white-nosed shark off Mazatlan, were in operation by the early 1960s. In Guatemala in the 1990s, this was the second most abundant shark in artisanal fisheries, but in 2006-2007 landing surveys, the species was encountered at lower levels, and 2 years of surveys from 2017 to 2018 only recorded 2 individuals. In Costa Rica, trawl surveys conducted between 2008 and 2012 failed to record the species even though it was present there in the 1980s. Catches in Colombia were relatively common in the 1990s, but has rarely been recorded since. A few individuals were recorded in Peruvian landings in the late 1990s, but has not been recorded since. Mangrove habitats, which often serve as nursery areas for coastal sharks such as this, have been degraded with the development of shrimp aquaculture in many areas of the eastern Pacific. Eastern and Central Pacific. Overall, due to the level of intense and unmanaged fisheries across its range, combined with an increasing rarity of records, limited biological productivity, and habitat degradation, the white-nosed shark is suspected to have undergone population reduction of 50 to 79% over the past 3 generations and is assessed as endangered. So really concerning, especially when it comes to just the destruction of mangrove habitats, because shallow water sharks like this don't really have a refuge at depth. So that's really concerning overall. Seeing fisheries declines, and then also habitat destruction for the species. So. Let's see if we have any other. I had a few more photos of the shark overall, and a couple specific articles, including a very famous location that they found in. So let's see. So we had this one. I think it was this website. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is the main live photo that we have. We have a couple other images of the species, but really this one I think is sort of the best, where you can kind of see its namesake, just that little black spot and the white tip of the snout. This individual looks like it was recently landed. You can actually see it's a pretty good view of how prominent the first dorsal fin is, and how pointed the snout is. So obviously it's a streamlined animal, and probably a rather fast swimmer. There's a couple other images here too that are X-ray images of the species, so we can see. Let's start with this one because this is the snout, and this is a really good way to visualize basic shark anatomy for the chondrocranium. So you have, I guess to orient, there's a lot going on in this image actually. So you have the eye sockets here, so here and here. You have the olfactory bulbs here, and then you have the rostrum here. So this is actually this thin pointed piece of cartilage, and the rostrum, eye socket, olfactory bulbs are all connected in kind of like a square piece. Separate from that and attached only by muscle are the jaws, which you can actually see here. So this arc right here are the jaws of the white-nosed shark. If you really zoom in, you can actually see the upper and lower teeth. So you can see the lower jaw here, kind of ending at this point. You can see narrow teeth, rows of narrow teeth kind of tucked in. And then the upper jaw here, you can see a little bit broader teeth. So it's a little hard to see, but it's actually really cool to see. This is actually a really good X-ray of the species. Again, the jaws are separate from the head, or the chondrocranium. So where these jaws are, they're connected to the chondrocranium by muscle, not by bone or cartilage even. I mean, or there's cartilaginous connections, but it's not like, it's very different from like mammalian skeletons. What's really cool is that you can actually really easily see the gill arches, and you can kind of see there's a theory, or I guess I shouldn't say it's a theory. I mean, I guess it is a theory technically, but there's a theory that jaws are actually hyper-modified gill arches, or that gill arches and jaws have the same evolutionary history. And you can actually see that really well here, where the arc of the gill arches, or the first arch, is actually really close to the arc of the jaw, and they're ranged really closely together too. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gill arches here. This helps support the overall gill structure. Clearly in the middle too, you can see this long vertebral column with these this really beautiful array of rings that look like little X's. This is just the cross section of the rings that we're seeing, but each vertebral ring can, each vertebrae has like rings within it that help determine a shark's age. So you can actually count them very similarly to tree rings. So a lot of cool stuff going on in that one photograph. Let me go back to it. Let's see what else we can see. There's a couple supporting arches here that help support the fins. This shark is kind of twisted on its side, so it's hard to see that clearly. And you can actually even see, oops, I keep doing this, sorry. You can actually even see the fin rays too. These very faint lines here, these are all the individual fin rays, so these cartilaginous fin rays. So sadly, these are the rays that go into shark fin soup and are what people are after when they're trying to get shark fins for shark fin soup. It's these little fibers here, these cartilaginous filaments here that comprise the fin of the shark. And what's interesting is that sharks in life, they have these like smooth fins, so you don't see filaments on the actual fins of a shark. So you see a smooth single piece. But the internal anatomy of a ray is similar to bony fish, where it's like it's fundamentally very different, but there's kind of like a basic there is a basic similarity in the sense that bony fish have obviously rayed fins, and sharks in their internal anatomy, they actually have these supportive cartilaginous rays that support the internal structure of the fin. So pretty interesting stuff here. Here's another view of the underside of a jaw, and this one's actually a little bit clearer, of a different individual white-nosed shark. So this one you can actually see very clearly the multiple rows of teeth. So you can see that all of them are either functional or just tucked in, ready to replace any missing teeth. And you can actually see these straight lines are long, narrow lower teeth tucked into the lower jaw, and then you can see this like really high amount of rows of broader upper teeth in the upper jaw. You can actually see here pretty clearly the rostrum, supportive structures for the rostrum here. It's so interesting. Another good view. This is actually a view of the caudal fin. Very clear, kind of strikingly clear X-ray view of the caudal fin, where you have the main vertebral column, the bright white line in the center, and then you have the supporting rays for the upper caudal fin. So pretty interesting to see here. And you can see just how many rays there are, and you can see how many vertebrae there are too. So these are what we reference when we talk about shark vertebral counts, and sometimes the vertebral count is one of the few traits that is used to help determine one species from another species. So they superficially look similar, but they're fundamentally different species based on vertebral counts. So to have any other images that are interesting. So this is the midpoint of the body with the vertebral count, the bright white. The fins kind of like, folded in on each other. So, and this individual actually looks like it's been dissected. So, because it looks like the fin placement is a little bit too far apart. So, kind of keep moving. That I think last image for this is actually a really great shot of the internal anatomy of the jaws again, and then you can see the eye socket here, the upper and lower jaws here, the rostrum here, olfactory bulbs here. You can see the gill arches too, and the vertebral column. So this is actually a really cool image of whitenose shark internal anatomy. So I can play darts. I just saw that comic book because I can play darts with the shark. Yeah. So there's a couple snippets of research specifically on this species. So I'm going to read this one first, and then the one in the archipelago, because we're going to talk about that specific habitat shortly. But diet of 3 shark species in the Ecuadorian Pacific: Carcharodon falciformis, which is the silky shark; Carcharodon lymbatus, which is the blacktip shark; and then Nasolamia velox, which is the whitenose shark. We analyzed the stomach contents. I'm going to accept all the cookies. We analyzed the stomach contents of 69 silky sharks, 44 blacktip sharks, and 24 whitenose sharks. Caught in the Ecuadorian Pacific from August 2003 to December 2004. Prey included bony fishes, elazabranchs, mollusks, crustaceans, and turtles. I'm going to guess the silky shark is what ate the turtles, with bony fishes being the most important to the diets of all 3 sharks, suggesting that they are piscivorous predators. Based on the index of relative importance, the silky shark diet includes tuna. I'm going to try to guess these as much as I can. So Tunnus albacore is a tuna. Tunnus is a tuna. Oxus is something different. I don't know what this is. So I'm curious what this thing is. Oh, it's a tuna. Okay, great. So tuna, as well as some squid, fish, and turtles. So I got that right. That turtle goes to silky shark. It makes sense because silky sharks are pretty large, and I feel like they would go after something like that. Similarly, the blacktip shark diet was dominated by tuna, Exocoitus monoceros, tuna, and Katsuonis palamus. I'm not sure what Exocoitus is, so let's see what this is. Watch it be another tuna or a mackerel. Oh, it's a flying fish. Okay, so blacktip sharks go after flying fish. Interesting. And Katsuwana, I'm going to guess this is a tuna as well. Let's see what this is. It's a tuna? It's a tuna. It's a skipjack tuna. So tuna, tuna, tuna. Members of the Ophistidae family and other elasmobranchs. So, Ophistidae. There's literally 20,000. Oh, these are snake eels? Snake eels. Ophistidae are snake eels. Interesting that blacktip sharks go after these. I'm a little bit surprised, actually, because blacktip sharks are pelagic predators. I mean, coastal pelagic. Or let me phrase it. They're primarily coastal, but they do swim in the mid-water column, so I'm kind of surprised that they go after something that spends most of its time on the seabed. Meanwhile, the Whitenose Shark, which is the one that we're talking about tonight, consume mainly Dosidicus gigas, Larimus argentinus, Cynoscion, and Lophioids spiloris. Okay. Okay. So let me know in the comments if you know these animals. I'm gonna make some guesses. So I should know this one. Lophioids. I think this is a kind of goosefish or a frogfish. So I'm gonna guess goose or frogfish for this one. Cynoscion. I definitely should know what this is, and it's a shame that it's not coming to me. So I really should know what this is. I'm gonna guess that this is a. I really should know what this is. I'm gonna guess this is like a silver side, but I think that's wrong. I think it's totally wrong. No, that's an idea. I have no idea what this is. I should know what this is. Let's say this is a drum. I'm gonna guess Cynoscion is a drum. So drum and goosefish are my guesses. Dosidicus, I have no idea. Larimus, I really actually should know that one too. Everything is a crab. Alright, so let's see. Dosidicus gigas, I have no idea, so I'm just going to guess batfish. Just because why not? What is this? It's a Humboldt squid. So that's actually, wow. Humboldt squid. These are interesting. I'm kind of shocked to see this here. So I'm going to click on this because I don't know if you were here for our Humboldt squid deep dive quackers, but these are very interesting. They're, I think, the only invertebrate that is dangerous to humans as far, and let me rephrase that. There's a lot of invertebrates that are obviously dangerous to humans, but this one is I think this is the only invertebrate that has rumored to predate on humans. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Larimus. I should know what this is. Oh gosh. Let's say it's a lobster. I don't know. Really should know what this is. Oops. Larimus argentinus. Copy. It is. Oh, is this it's a drum? A silver drum. Okay, so I should know that, but because Chesapeake Bay is famous for drums, but Larimus is a silver drum, so this is actually kind of cool. So drums are more bottom-dwelling fish, so that implies that, or a fish that kind of like to hug to the bottom, so that implies that the Whitenose shark also likes to hug to the bottom. Oh, wait a minute, that means Cynoscion. I forget what I said, but I think that's a drum too. It is a sea trout, which is a kind of drum. So Cynoscion is a sea trout, is a drum. So that's actually really cool. So Cynoscion is, we actually have some in the bay too. So I think it's spotted sea trout is the one that we have. These guys are actually really cool. They could sometimes have these pretty sharp canine teeth, which is really interesting. Okay, Lophioides. I'm actually feeling good that this is a goosefish or a frogfish. So let's see what this is. It's a goosefish. Yes. So Lophoides is a goosefish. So these are all bottom dwelling fish, which is interesting. So the silver drum, the sea trout, and the goosefish. These are all fish that spend time near the bottom. So it's actually really kind of cool to infer that the white-nosed shark likes to hunt near the bottom. Um, Now the Humboldt squid, just as a little shout out to this animal, we'll kind of just skip ahead to aggression towards humans. The size, let's see, it's the largest of the omasteriphid squids. Some individuals may grow to 1.5 meters or 5 feet in mantle length and weigh up to 110 pounds. Numerous accounts have the squid attacking fishermen and divers. Their coloring and aggressive reputation have earned them the nickname Diablos Rojos, or Red Devils, from fishermen off the coast of Mexico as they flash red and white when struggling on a line. Although Humboldt squid have a reputation of being aggressive towards humans, some disagreement exists on the subject. Research suggests that these squid are aggressive only while feeding. At other times, they are quite passive. Some scientists claim the only reports of aggression towards humans have occurred when reflective diving gear or flashlights have been present as a provocation. Roger Uzun, a veteran scuba diver and amateur underwater videographer who swam with a swarm of the animals for about 20 minutes, said they seem to be more curious than aggressive. In circumstances where these animals are not feeding or being hunted, they exhibit curious and intelligent behavior. Recent footage of shoals of these animals demonstrates a tendency to meet unfamiliar objects aggressively, having risen to depths of 130 to 200 meters below the surface to feed. They have attacked deep-sea cameras and rendered them inoperable. Humboldt squid have also been observed engaging in swarm behavior when met by the lights of submersibles, suggesting they may be followed or attracted to light. Reports of recreational scuba divers being attacked by Humboldt squid have been confirmed. So really, really interesting stuff. So yeah, these are a rare group of aggressive invertebrates. So very, very interesting stuff. I can't think of. I've heard of giant Pacific octopus sometimes being a little too curious and causing diver problems because they get too close. So let's actually look that up really quick. Giant Pacific. Although I guess not. Like I don't see anything about danger. Because they get to be pretty large. Okay. I can't think of any other invertebrate that would be dangerous as in like aggressive towards an individual. Like I mean, obviously bees or hornets, but not in a predation effort. I've heard of Humboldt squid just being like just a little dangerous. I can't think of another one that would be like that, but pretty interesting stuff. So, so for this article, there's little competition for food between these tertiary carnivores. The black-tipped shark prefers prey from some coastal oceanic habitats. Silky shark consumes mostly oceanic prey, and the white-nosed shark focuses on prey from coastal habitats. The lack of information on the biology of sharks in Ecuador hinders the development of appropriate management and conservation plans to protect shark resources. This study increases our knowledge and understanding of sharks in Ecuador, thus contributing to their conservation. So, very cool. I'm just going to kind of I'm just going to kind of skip ahead, just skim through this article to see if there's any interesting facts on the white-nosed shark in general. Let's see. Similarly, the white-nosed shark, Nasolamia velox, is also caught by local fisheries. We know little of this species, however, it is distributed from Baja California to Peru and considered endemic to the eastern tropical Pacific, preferring coastal habitats where it feeds on fishes, cephalopods, and crustaceans. Let's see. Talk about materials and methods. Here we go. Diet is teleost, cephalopods, and crustaceans. Most important prey were the Humboldt squid. So Humboldt squid is predominant prey item. And the next being the goosefish, the silver sea trout, the drum, the sea trout, and then the goosefish. The male diet was dominated by teleosts and cephalopods, the most important prey being the fishes. So the goosefish, Polydactylus, this is a new one. Let's see what this is. The yellow bobo, which is a kind of threadfin. Interesting. So this is also a coastal fish. In contrast, the female diet also includes crustaceans, members of the Ophididae family, and Oxyporamphus micropterus. I'm not sure which this one is. Oh, this is like a half-beak or a flying fish. Interesting. It's not a half-beak, so it's the bigwig half-beak. Is this a half-beak? Interesting. So it's a little fish that half-beaks usually have a very elongated lower jaw, so it's kind of interesting that this individual doesn't. And it looks like it's a cousin of flying fish, so really interesting. Okay. But also a coastal fish, so just supporting that it's a predominantly coastal diet. But it's just so interesting that Humboldt squid is part of it. So it looks like a lot of coastal fishes and then Humboldt squid. So, based on traffic analysis, all three of these sharks, including the whitenose shark, are specialist predators. Pretty cool. And then this is actually really interesting, where they're talking about the trophic overlap of the three shark species, where it looks like just whitenose shark is going after prey items that are just quite different from the other two sharks. In Ecuadorian waters, the whitenose shark feeds on various groups of organisms, including fish, shellfish, and crustaceans, with a preference for... Oh, I'm sorry, did I read this already? Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. No, I didn't. With a preference for fish, suggesting that they are piscivorous, similar to Compagno. So the research, Compagno's original research is saying that these are predominantly fish eaters. They feed on coastal habitats and consume prey from the seabed, benthic demersal species, with 47% of the prey species identified coming from benthic environments, 16% from both coastal mesopelagic environments, 11% from demersal coastal habitats, and 5% from oceanic and oceanic coastal areas. The whitenose shark is common in shallow coastal areas, so 15 to 24 meters. This habitat and the presence of fishes from the drums, goosefish and Polynemonidae, which inhibit coastal zones and sandy and muddy habitats, suggest that the whitenose shark feeds in this habitat. So adult whitenose sharks apparently concentrate in sandy and muddy habitats. And I'm assuming if mangrove habitat destruction is harmful for this species, that probably the smaller sharks use the mangroves of nurseries, and then as they get larger, they are sticking around close to the coast, but just focusing on sandy, muddy areas where these prey items can be found. So, very interesting. It's a really cool article overall. While the silky shark, blacktip shark, and whitenose shark are all present in the Ecuadorian Pacific, our results suggest low interaction between them due to the distribution of resources in the area and differences in the habitat preferences for these shark species. The silky shark prefers oceanic habitats, the blacktip shark frequents oceanic coastal habitats, and also feeds on prey from the water column and seabed, and the whitenose shark is a coastal species that consumes benthic prey. Thus, these species avoid potential competition for food, even though the calculations place the silky shark and blacktip shark and whitenose shark all at the same trophic level. So what's kind of cool is that studies like this will assign trophic levels to species, and it literally is a number. So you can kind of think of it as like a power level, which is probably not a good comparison, um, but it's like there's level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. And I think there's level 5. But what's interesting is that this study is talking about 3 very different sharks at 3 very different size classes, but they're all at the same trophic level because sharks as a whole are uniquely large animals. Even the smallest sharks, they're kind of unusually large animals compared to other groups of animals. Like, and we talked about it before, but bony fish, when they are born, a lot of them are the size of plankton and are planktonic. Or the size of zooplankton, I should say. So a lot of bony fishes are at a lower trophic level, but a lot of sharks, it makes sense that a lot of sharks are just by nature at a higher trophic level just because they attain higher sizes. So I think the highest trophic level for a marine animal. So really, if you include humans in the mix, like fishermen, you would assign them probably the highest level, unfortunately. But if you had to pick an animal to be the highest level, it would either be an orca. It probably would be an orca, or I think you could probably make an argument that a polar bear would be the highest level. So as far as marine trophic systems or marine trophic studies, I would say it's probably the orca is probably the highest one. So. Very few studies have examined the trophic positions of these sharks. Oh, and actually, this is kind of cool. So the higher the number, the higher the level. You can see that the whitenose shark and the black-tipped shark, they're pretty comparable at 4.25 and 4.28. The silky shark is in a little bit of a different class at 4.57, and that indicates that the silky shark goes after more, like larger, more complicated prey items. The turtle probably is what has lifted that score, and it makes sense because again these sharks are a bit larger. It'd be really interesting to do like a global trophic study of compared all the sharks in the world and seeing which ones are at the highest level, and although at the same time it's like or how they would be organized by trophic level, but at the same time that actually probably is self-evident because that would be the white sharks, the tiger sharks, and the bull sharks. Tiger shark or white shark would probably be at the top, honestly. So, but still, really, really interesting study. So, somebody's gotta humble the Humboldt. Gotta drop out now. Study grind never stops. We'll have watch the rest later. Have a great week. You too, Quackers. Thank you so much for watching. I'm glad you can hang out, and I hope you have a great week as well. Good luck studying. So. Let's see. A few studies have been undertaken. Cortez estimated trophic positions for both the silky shark and black-nosed shark, which are similar to those reported here. Other studies relying on different techniques have produced results similar to ours. For example, in 2 studies involving the stable isotope analysis of delta-15 nitrogen, Galindo assigned the silky shark in trophic position between 3.3 and 3.8, while Young Kai et al. Placed the species between 3.4 and 5.3. Other authors have identified the silky shark as secondary or tertiary consumers based on a variety of techniques. Trophic level estimates of the white-nosed shark make no mention of trophic position, illustrating the lack of information regarding this species. So, overall, really cool study, and this one was by Colombo Estupinan Montaño, Fabian Pacheco Trevino, Luis G. Cedeno Figueroa, Felipe Gavan Magana, and Jose F. Estupinan Ortiz. So I'm going to put this in the chat because this is a pretty interesting study that is available for... Oh, not painting. Sorry, I misclicked. This is a weird app that I have on my computer, like the paintbrush app. There we go. So, but yeah, if you're interested in learning more about shark trophic ecology in Ecuador, this is a really cool study that dives into that. Moving on is another interesting study, the range expansion of the whitenose shark, Nasolamia velox, and migratory movements to the oceanic Revilla-Gigedo archipelago in western Mexico. So we're going to devote some time to this archipelago today, just because this is a very famous location, and it's really cool to see that the whitenose shark is a part of this ecosystem. So very excited to dive it more. We talked about it a little bit, but I'm excited to dive more into it tonight. Oh. Current literature considers that Nasolamia velox, the whitenose shark, has a limited distribution along the coastline of the eastern Pacific with sporadic sightings in the Galapagos archipelago. This study provides evidence of the occurrence of the species at the Revilla-Gigedo archipelago, Mexico, using acoustic telemetry and videos taken from 2014 to 2016. Reported here movements from a coastal location, National Park Cabo Palma, to a group of oceanic islands, Revilla, and I apologize, this is a really famous location. I apologize for maybe not pronouncing it correctly, but Revilla-Gigedo archipelago by one single individual, supporting the idea of the potential connectivity of sharks between the Gulf of California and the Revilla-Gigedo archipelago. This report extends the known distribution of the whitenose shark to 400 kilometers off the mainland coast of the Americas, thereby increasing the knowledge of the distribution of the species commonly reported in fishery landings of the eastern Pacific. So, really cool abstract, just kind of indicating that this shark, like a lot of sharks, it can cover wide distances, and it's really cool that this species is a part of one of the most beautiful and famous locations in the world, Revilla-Gigedo archipelago, which we'll take a dive into now. So we'll start here with UNESCO. So this is the World Heritage Sites defined by the United Nations. There's sites around the world that are either cultural or natural or a mix of both that receive World Heritage designation, and this is one of them. So, Archipelago de Revilla-Gigedo. Located in the eastern Pacific Ocean, this archipelago is made up of 4 remote islands and the surrounding waters. San Benedicto, Socorro, which I've heard of before, this is a very famous location, Roca Partida, and Clarion. This archipelago is part of a submerged mountain range with the 4 islands representing the peaks of volcanoes emerging above sea level. The islands provide critical habitat for a range of wildlife and are of particular importance for seabirds. Their surrounding waters have a remarkable abundance of large pelagic species such as manta rays, whales, dolphins, and sharks. So, beautiful shot of a humpback whale, and actually here's a really cool map of the archipelago here. So we'll zoom out. So this is in the eastern Pacific, right in the whitenose shark's range. Off the coast of Mexico. And here are the 4 islands. So, beautiful shot of I'm assuming it's a mother humpback whale because there's definitely a calf beneath her. It's actually a couple of really amazing. Wow, there's actually a lot of amazing shots here. Okay, so let me go back to the description here, and then we'll take a look at the images. So, the Archipelago de Revilla-Gigedo is located in the eastern Pacific Ocean, 386 kilometers southwest of the southern tip of Baja California Peninsula, and 770 kilometers west of the Mexican mainland. The Archipelago de Revilla-Gigedo is a serial nomination made up of 4 remote islands and their surrounding waters: Isla San Benedicto, Isla Socorro, Isla Roca Partida, and Isla Clarion. The property covers 636,000 hectares and includes a marine protected area extending 12 nautical miles around each of the islands. A very large buffer zone of 14 million hectares surrounds all 4 islands. Ocean depths within the buffer zone of the property reach 3.7 kilometers, particularly west of the Isla Roca Partida and to the west and south of Isla Clarion. Due to their volcanic origin, depths around the islands increase abruptly at distances between 10 to 12 kilometers from the island shorelines. The Archipelago de Revilla-Gigedo is part of a submarine mountain range with the 4 islands representing the peaks of volcanoes emerging above sea level. Apart from 2 small naval bases, the islands are uninhabited. The Archipelago de Revillagigedo represents an exceptional convergence of 2 marine biogeographic regions, the northeastern Pacific and eastern Pacific. More particularly, the property lies along the junction where the California equatorial current mix generated a complex and highly productive transition zone. The islands and surrounding waters of the Archipelago de Revillagigedo are rich in marine life and recognized as important stepping stones and stopovers for a wide-ranging species. The property harbors an abundant population of sharks, rays, large pelagic fish, humpback whales, turtles, and manta rays, a concentration of wildlife that attracts recreational divers from around the world. Each of the islands displays characteristic terrestrial flora and fauna, and their relative isolation has resulted in high levels of species endemism and microendemism, particularly among fish and bird species, many of which are globally threatened. The islands provide critical habitat for a range of terrestrial marine creatures and are of particular importance to seabirds with masked, blue-footed, red-footed, and brown boobies, red-billed tropic birds, magnificent frigate birds, and many other species dependent on the island and sea habitats. The Archipelago de Revillagigedo is the only place in the world where the critically endangered Townsend shearwater breeds. So we're going to put a pause in this right now and take a look at some photographs here. So beautiful giant manta ray. Wish we could get larger photos. Let's see if there's a way I could kind of zoom in. Okay, that kind of works. This kind of works. But not to fear, I also have videos as well. So here we go. So we have a manta ray here. Beautiful giant manta with whale suckers underneath it and a couple of reef fish underneath it as well. More manta rays, so this is actually really cool to see a school of manta rays. This one has whale suckers also. We won't go through every photo. These are interesting dolphins. I'm actually not sure what species this is. Because there's actually quite a few dolphins in the world. They almost look like bottlenose, but they look a lot more robust. And this one below has some spots on it. So I think it's a different kind of dolphin, but I'm not 100% sure what this is. We have false killer whales. These are false killer whales. So these are it's a huge group of false killer whales. It's a really, really cool group of cetaceans. Glorious photo of a humpback whale diving deep. Sailfish. So sailfish actually actively hunting little bait fish. I wonder if this archipelago, I'm sure it's been featured in nature specials, but I wonder if it's been featured in Blue Planet. That'd be actually really cool. These look like marlin in front of the sailfish, but it's hard to tell from this angle. Sailfish have these beautiful giant dorsal fins that they can expand and contract to make this billowing sail. I want to say these are ballyhoo, but I'm not ballyhoo. I'm not sure what these are. These are very interesting mackerel-like fish. There's some tuna here. So beautiful yellowfin tuna. A lot of sharks here. It's hard to tell from this angle what species this is, but they do look like silkies, but it's hard to tell. Whale shark. So a very famous visitor of these islands. Silky sharks here, so really, really gorgeous species. White tip reef sharks chilling out on the seabed. So really cool. Oh, hammerhead sharks. So this is a famous hammerhead stopover. So it's really cool that this archipelago, this is what the home of this is a home of the Whitenose shark, is this really beautiful area. Some great reef fishes, sea urchins. scorpion fish right here. So yeah, we won't see every photo, but let's see what else we can learn about this place before we watch some dive videos. Okay. Okay, so criterions for making this a World Heritage Site. Both the landscape and seascape of Archipelago de Revillagigedo exhibit impressive active volcanoes, arches, cliffs, and isolated rock outcrops emerging from the middle of the ocean. The clear surrounding waters create exceptional scenic vistas and large aggregations of fish gathering around the steep walls and seamounts, as well as large pelagic marine species including giant manta rays, whales, dolphins, and sharks. One of the most remarkable aspects of the property is the concentration of the giant manta rays, which aggregate around the islands and interact with divers in a special way that is rarely found anywhere in the world. Furthermore, the property encompasses an underwater seascape of abyssal plains at depths close to 4,000 meters and sheer drops in crystal clear water, all contributing to an awe-inspiring underwater experience. A large population of up to 2,000 humpback whales visits the islands. The songs of these majestic cetaceans could be heard during the winter months and while diving, and add another sensory dimension to the marine seascape. So, speaking of diving, good time to take a look at some of the wonders of this location. So these are all actually shots from Socorro specifically in the archipelago. So manta rays, reef fish here, white-tip reef shark, false killer whales right here. Look at these guys. Circle of sharks here, silky shark. Hard to tell what these fishes are in this beautiful wave. Looks like surgeonfish. Oh, look at the currents pushing all these fishes. Wow. Manta rays in a variety of color morphs. Steep drop off. Silver-tip shark, beautiful silver-tip shark. Dolphins, not sure what species these are. I think a squirrelfish. A scalloped hammerhead. This one's hard. I think that was a reef shark, but it's hard to tell. Just from that quick shot and that quick angle. I think these are reef sharks as well, like gray reef sharks. White tip reef sharks here. Those were actually mating. Sea turtles. More sharks here at the drop off. Manta ray with silver tip sharks. False killer whales. Look at these. What an incredible location this is. So the oh, it's so cool. The Whitenose Shark probably is sticking to shallow areas, so it's probably not near the drop-off. Look at this dolphin, just curious about these divers. White-tip reef sharks chilling on a ledge. Here is a whale shark doing some filter feeding. Look at this! Dolphins kind of like playing with their fins. It's so interesting. Hold on. That was an interesting behavior. So look at the dolphins slapping each other's fins. That is so interesting. So it's really funny, but it just shows like how smart these animals are. Where it's like it's probably like a game, or some kind of social activity that they do. It's so interesting. Great shot of manta ray and sharks. Wow, this is a really incredible place. Yeah, what an incredible location. I think this manta ray is either filter feeding, or maybe this is a technique to help get parasites off. Kind of hard to tell. Let's see. Next criterion, the Archipelago de Revillagigedo is located in the northern part of the tropical East Pacific province, a transitional zone influenced mainly by the California current but mixed with the warm waters of the northern equatorial current. This location results in the convergence of a multitude of fauna and flora and creates a unique set of biological and ecological processes. The isolation and relatively pristine state of these islands has supported evolutionary processes which result in a high degree of endemicity in both the terrestrial as well as marine realms. In the marine realm, the water surrounding the islands are composed of majestic aggregation of sharks, rays, turtles, and fish, a number of which are endemic or near-endemic. On land, important evolutionary processes led to specialization in species, two endemic lizards, two endemic snakes, four endemic birds, 33 endemic plant species, and innumerable invertebrates. In addition, 11 endemic subspecies of birds have evolved in the islands, indicating the potential for future evolution on these remote and well-protected islands. So, really interesting place. I think we have another clip. Oh, actually, this is not necessarily of this location, but this is something I did want to take a look at. So this is a whale shark with leucism. Or albinism. I think it might be leucism, but it's a whale shark that actually is all white. It is a whale shark that doesn't have. It's a pigment mutation. It's a genetic mutation in its pigment that has resulted in white coloration. So a lot of marine animals do exhibit leucism like this when they don't have their standard patterns. But it was kind of amazing to see this in a whale shark. We've seen this in its cousin nurse sharks before, but not a whale shark. So I just stumbled across it, and I thought it would be kind of cool to show, just because it's such a incredible species to exhibit this unique coloration, this pigment, or this lack of pigment. It's just so interesting. You can see, even without the spots that are charismatic to the whale shark, or characteristic, I should say, of the whale shark, you can still see the very sharp ridges on its body. That's also a defining feature of the species. So imagine diving and running into this individual. It's such a unique, pigment mutation. So interesting, and really beautiful too. So I've seen leucism, like partial leucism in the wild in sea robins, but I haven't seen it in sharks. Although bull sharks, the species name is Carcharias leucus, and it's because of one individual that actually had either leucism in life, or maybe it was pigment degradation in the preservation process. But that's where that shark gets its name, is leucism. So I thought it was pretty interesting to show. But speaking of interesting, here's another clip of Revillagigedo with humpback whales. So I wanted to just take a look at some of the more incredible diving opportunities in this location that the whitenose sharks could be found. So here are humpback whales. It looks like this is a mother and a calf. Divers in this enormous school of fish. So what a beautiful location. Scalped hammerhead sharks, as well as reef sharks, swimming in unison here. Silky sharks right here. Silver-tip shark here. So pretty fun biodiversity. And a dolphin, look at that. Silver-tip shark with a dolphin. It's incredible to see like what's in the same frame. More interesting dolphin behavior. So you have dolphins like kind of artfully playing with bubbles. It's so interesting. I'm not sure what species this is. It's actually a pretty large dolphin too. Manta ray with a whale sucker. There are a couple whale suckers riding with it. These are enormous rays. They get to be easily about 20 feet long. Happy divers, because of course, I mean, it's just an incredible location. I think that's almost all we have. Oh, tiger shark. Tiger shark. Let me rewind. Lots of sharks, actually. Hold on. Lots of sharks. Tiger shark here. Chilling out at these islands. Look at that. It's incredible. Looks like that's a reef shark. That actually might be a sandbar shark. Hold on. That... that one's a little tricky. I should know what this is. I should know what this is. This one's going to bug me. Conroe-Nicholls is a very difficult genus to identify. The dorsal fin is very large, so it almost looks like a sandbar shark, but the snout is quite pointed, and it's also far up on the body, so it's also like a sandbar shark. But the black pigmentation is kind of throwing me off. It almost looks like a black tip in some ways, but it's not sharp enough looking. It could be a big nose shark, but I'm not 100% sure what this is. Scalloped hammerhead right here. Tall dorsal fin. Wow, whole cave of white tip reef sharks. Look at that. Such an amazing location. And then a whale shark. And this one looks like a younger individual, so a little whale shark kind of cruising by this reef. Look at that. So one of a kind shark location here. So it's really cool that the Whitenose Shark calls this place home. I will read this last criterion and then we'll move on kind of throughout the stream for more information on this species specifically. But the geographic isolation of the Archipelago de Revillagigedo, shaped by the prevailing oceanographic conditions, results in high marine productivity, rich biodiversity, and exceptional levels of endemism, both terrestrial and marine. The islands are the only breeding sites for the townsend shearwater, one of the rare seabirds in the world. The Archipelago de Revillagigedo is also home to the endemic Socorro dove, Socorro mockingbird, Socorro wren, clarion wren, as well as 11 endemic bird subspecies, 2 lizards, 2 snakes, and numerous endemic plants and invertebrates, all of which contribute to the importance of these islands in conserving terrestrial biodiversity. In the marine realm, at least 10 reef species have been identified. Reef fish species have been identified as endemic or near endemic, including the spectacular clarion angelfish, which can be observed at cleaning stations, feeding on the ectoparasites of giant manta rays. So I would like to take a look at what this fish looks like. Very pretty, the clarion angelfish. So it looks like this is the juvenile, which has this like really, really pretty like neon purple, almost blue pattern on the side, and it looks like as it gets older it turns into this brilliant orange. So very, very pretty animal. These rays, some of them unusually completely black, aggregate in some of the largest numbers known worldwide. The property is a haven for a rich diversity of shark species, up to 20 having been recorded. Up to 2,000 humpback whales also migrate through these nutrient-rich and productive waters. The islands are also of significant importance to seabirds, notably masked, blue-footed, red-footed, and brown boobies, red-billed tropic birds, magnificent frigate birds, and many other species which can be seen soaring around the rocky outcrops where they nest and fish in the sea. So, one-of-a-kind location. I will take a look. I won't look at all the photos, but I will kind of skim to see if there's any possibility we may see the white-nosed shark. So, got mantas, whales. We saw a lot of these already. Let's do see all. Got the whale shark, white-tip reef shark, hammerheads, so reef fish. Really cool shot of the octopus right there. Some of these rare birds. Parakeets, so really fun to see parakeets here. Barn owl, which I was not expecting. Land crabs and rock crabs. Very pretty. Some views of the islands here. I won't click unless I see the shark. Socorro Island is really, really interesting. Oh, here's some of the lizards. So Socorro Island tree lizard, which is bright neon blue. Clear Island tree lizard, which is bright green. Then I guess these are the endemic snakes. So this is the Clear Island whip snake. Green turtle here. Very interesting plant life. Manta ray, dolphin. No images of the whitenose shark. So again, whitenose shark being a really rare species, but still really cool to see. Let's see. I think the rest of tonight is going to be more research oriented, so we'll see what we can learn. Regarding sharks in Eastern Pacific, and we might end a little bit early depending on how much research we have. So, let's see. A review of the status of sharks raised at chimeras of Panama to guide research and conservation. It's by Jorge Manuel Morales Saldana, Hector M. Guzman, Angel J. Vega, Ilani A. Robles, Luis A. Montes, and Peter M. Kine. We've seen a lot of these names before, so we might have seen this article before too, but Chondrichthyan fishes, sharks raised in chimeras, are a group of high conservation concern globally. Species are impacted by varying threats, although fishing pressure is a primary stressor causing population declines. Panama comprises both Pacific and Caribbean coastlines with a diversity of estuarine and marine habitats supporting small to large-scale fisheries. Understanding the status of chondrichthyans within the Central America seascape can help inform and drive conservation and research. This paper represents the first comprehensive review of the chondrichthyans of Panama. It presents a summary of species diversity and distribution, habitat, extinction risk, drivers of extinction risk, and policy tools. The study also discusses current research and critical knowledge gaps and outlines recommendations for research, education, and management. Panama supports 112 species of chondrichthyan, the majority of which are associated with coastal and shelf environments. Almost half are at risk of extinction globally, according to the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. Many of the most frequently encountered species and fisheries are globally threatened, such as the scalloped hammerhead and silky shark. This review found a general lack of species-specific fisheries data, limiting the assessment of local population trends. Further, although national, regional, and international policy tools are in place, deficiencies in monitoring, enforcement, and compliance are limiting their effectiveness. Policies should aim to improve data collection and compliance with current management tools while supporting research into life history, critical habitats, and the socioeconomic values of chondrichthyans. Addressing the research, education, and management recommendations within this paper would improve status of Panama's chondrichthyans and assist the country in meeting the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, including SDG 14, which calls to conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. Let's see. I'm just going to skim through this, but the world is currently facing a biodiversity loss and extinction crisis as human pressures and natural environment continue to mount. One vertebrate group heavily impacted by human activities is the chondrichthyan fishes, shark-raising chimeras. Exploitation and overfishing are driven by increasing demand for the products such as fins, livers, gill rakers, and meat, and are frequently executed under poor fishery management arrangements. It has been estimated that overfishing, primarily, and other human-induced stressors such as habitat degradation have caused an estimated one-third of chondrichthyans to be threatened with extinction globally. This places chondrichthyans among the highest taxonomic groups in terms of extinction risk, underlying the urgent need to implement efficient fishery management and conservation practices to prevent extinctions and permit population recovery. Let's see. There are several documented examples of local population depletion. For example, the large-toothed sawfish, Pristis pristis, so this is a really critically endangered species, and the bull shark, Carcharodontis lucas. I'm actually a bit surprised by that, because bull sharks are they're kind of hardy comparatively. They They can be found in a wide variety of habitats, and not just the whole freshwater thing, but they can actually tolerate just a lot of stuff. They can take a lot of stress. So the fact that they're not doing as well is concerning, highlighting the effects of high fishing pressure it can have on constricting species in Panama. Panama has in place various fishery management policies, including those particularly relevant to sharks. A national law prohibits shark finning, and Panama is a party to several regional and international agreements, including specially protected areas and wildlife of the Caribbean, and the Convention on the Conservation of Migratory Species of Wild Animals. Additionally, certain regulations exist within protected areas, such as the ban on shark and ray fishing in Coiba National Park. Beyond current policy, there is a need to develop new robust instruments and management mechanisms that promote sustainable use of resource while permitting the recovery of threatened species. There is also a need to develop and support the research and outgoing programs to strengthen the scientific basis for management and to provide education on the status of chondrichthyans and their conservation. Interesting. The Panamanian coastline features a variety of habitats including mangroves, seagrass beds, rocky and sandy shores, and coral reefs. Three chondrichthyans are endemic to Panama: the Panama ghost cat shark, the reticulated round ray, and the recently described angel shark Squatina mapana. This one is brand new. I've never heard of this species before. Most species are associated with coastal shelf environments. Only 4 chondrichthyans reported in Panama have some occurrence in non-marine environments, including fresh water. Among them, 3 are Eurahaline general species, including large-toothed shellfish, bull shark, long-nosed stingray, and a estuarine generalist, a small-toothed sawfish. Interesting. The extinction risk for Panamanian sharks and rays. So the chimeras are doing the best. Sharks are doing the worst. Rays are, kind of in the middle. Usually it's the opposite. Rays are actually more vulnerable than sharks globally. So it's interesting that sharks are at higher risk in Panama. Let's see. So sharks here we have pelagic thresher, big-eye thresher, black-nosed sharks. Carcharodontis cordale, I don't know what that one is. Silky shark. Actually, let's look that up. This is critically endangered. I've never heard of this species before. The Pacific small-tail shark. Interesting. Carcharodontis cordale. Described in 1898. I've never heard of the species. And apparently it's critically endangered, so this might be a good one for next week. Silky shark, Galapagos shark, bull shark, blacktip shark, dusky shark, tiger shark, nurse shark. Different kind of nurse shark. I think we have seen this one before. Ginglimostoma unami. I want to say it's like the pygmy nurse shark? Pacific nurse shark. There we go. Pacific nurse shark, so different species. Mexican bull shark, Mexican horn shark, Heterodontis mexicanus, mako shark, a couple different smooth hounds, Somastosanle, dorsalis, and lanulatus, the whitenose shark, Nasolamia velox, so our species, the blue shark, 2 sharp-nosed sharks, including the Caribbean sharp-nosed shark, and then the small-eye hammerhead, Sphenocorona. That's the scalped bonnet head, I think. Hold on. Sphenocorona. Or no, this is small-eye hammerhead. This one I get a little confused sometimes. Spherocorona is scalped bonnethead. Sorry about that. Scalped bonnethead shark is Spherocorona. Scalped hammerhead, Spheronoline. Small hammerhead is Spheromedia is also a different shark. Hold on. Spheronomacron is a great hammerhead. Spherotubera is bonnethead. Spherozacana is smooth hammerhead. Scoophead is Spheromedia, scoophead shark. So very high hammerhead diversity here. And then Trinodon obesus is the white tip reef shark. So, not a lot of notes on our species specifically. But I do think this is a really interesting study on kind of Panamanian shark policy, so I'm going to put this in the chat too for future readers. I think it is pretty interesting overall. Because I'm particularly interested in this time scale, of things that need to be done, like education, management, like enforcing current fishery regulations is going to take a long time. Implementing new fitting strategies takes a short time. This is actually a really interesting way how they do this, so I think it's a really cool article overall. This one's kind of fascinating. So, Hidden Treasures, exploring the rich diversity of lazarbanks in the American estuaries focused on mangrove areas. This is by Payan Alcasio, Juan Angel, and Emin Nicolas Roberto. Estuaries with mangrove areas along the American continent represent vital habitats supporting diverse marine life, including the lazarbanks. Here, we comprehensively examine lazarbank diversity on the American continent with a focus on mangrove areas, including bays, inlets, estuaries, and coastal lagoons, even where mangrove cover is reduced. Through an extensive review of literature, museum collections, and online databases, we compiled records of lazarbank species occurring in these habitats across 15 countries, encompassing 29 localities. Our results revealed a rich diversity of lazarbanks with 32 shark species representing 8 families and 4 orders, and 50 batomorph species from 13 families and 4 orders. This diversity is revealed despite the limited research attention on lazarbanks and mangrove areas, particularly in comparison to other marine ecosystems. Excuse me. Much remains unknown as a corollary, including the utilization of mangrove habitats by several shark and batomorph species, with some exceptions of the charismatic ones. Excluding the recently described and taxonomically resurrected species, all recorded lazarbanks are currently categorized as threatened species on the IUCN Red List. For instance, 67% of sharks and 51% of batomorph species are characterized as vulnerable, endangered, or critically endangered. This underscores the urgency of protecting American coastal zones, particularly the mangrove habitats, which are facing significant degradation and loss due to human activities. In addition, the study highlights the need to enhance research and conservation efforts in these critical ecosystems, as well as the plans for management development that addresses several knowledge gaps in the sustainable exploitation of these resources. The significance of this research cannot be overstated, as it contributes to underestimating the intricate connections between American mangroves and lazarbank biology, and highlights the importance of marine biodiversity and conservation. Let's see. Typically, mangrove habitats. So the reason why this is really important for the whitenose shark is that they were talking about how mangrove habitat degradation has negatively impacted the species and has contributed to its endangered status. So, typically, mangrove habitats and sheltered shorelines and estuaries are among the most productive and biologically diverse coastal ecosystems in the world. This habitat is mainly characterized by salt-tolerant trees that thrive in the intertidal zones of tropical and subtropical regions, concerned among the unique places worldwide where land, freshwater, and ocean mix, resulting in different ecotones, a gradual environmental transition from land to aquatic environments. These particularities provide a wide range of animal dependencies on mangrove areas, including invertebrates, amphibians, birds, reptiles, fish, and mammals, which in turn support the entire coastal ecosystem. Aside from the ecological uses, mangrove forests offer wood products, honey collection business, foliage as fodder, environmental risk reduction, traditional medicine value, and neuroprotective activity for coastal communities that exploit them as a resource. Let's see. For example, mangroves are found in diverse settings such as coastal fringe, lagoon, estuary, estuarine delta, and delta, where the mangroves are diversified and adapted to the nearby areas, including water bodies, forests, mudflats, and adjacent coral and seagrass meadows. I'm going to kind of skip through to mentions of sharks specifically. Much of the information available today related to this topic has been performed and biased to the charismatic and threatened elasmobranch species cataloged by the IUCN, such as the lemon shark, bull shark, and sawfish, in a restricted number of American mangrove areas. Any information that provides further understanding of large geographic areas, including habitat use and elasmobranch biodiversity, is pivotal to detecting important shark and ray areas, or ISRAs. Interesting. Okay, so 32 shark species are documented in 16 localities across 9 countries. The Carcharodontidae family, Carcharodontiformes, exhibited the highest richness with 16 species across 7 genera, followed by Triachidae and Sphaeridae, each with 4 species. Notably, the blacktip shark and nurse shark were the most frequently reported shark species, each appearing in 8 reports. Conversely, more than 10 shark species are reported only once. A total of 12 shark species are recorded across the Pacific coast. Interestingly, the horned shark and the hound sharks are recorded exclusively on this side of the continent. On the American Atlantic, 15 sharks are counted, whereas the mackerel sharks were documented only on this coast. Finally, the whale shark, as well as the scalped hammerhead, bull shark, blacktip shark, and tiger shark were recorded on both sides of the continent. Geographically, Florida stood out with 16 shark species, followed by Maracaibo, Venezuela, 7. On the Pacific coast, Baja California Sur, Mexico led with 12 species, followed by Costa Rica's Golfo Dulce and Golfo de Nicoya with 11. Okay, so mangrove sharks. That's interesting. Mangrove sharks are the horned shark and Mexican horned shark, the nurse shark and Pacific nurse shark, the whale shark, the mako shark, interesting. The white shark? What? Interesting. The black nose shark, the spinner shark, the Pacific small-tailed shark, fine-tooth shark, bull shark, blacktip shark, sandbar shark, small-tailed shark, I don't know what this species is. Carcharodontis oxyrhynchus. Has a little asterisk next to it. I'm not sure what that is. Lemon shark, white nose shark, white tip reef shark, sharp nose sharks, both Atlantic, Caribbean, Lollandia and Longorio, tiger shark, smooth hounds, leopard shark, scalped hammerhead, great hammerhead, bonnethead shark, and small eye hammerhead. So the white-nose shark is only mentioned once as being found in mangroves. Here we go. And this is the map of sharks and mangrove diversity, so it's really interesting. So again, Florida being the top with 16 species, and Baja California also being pretty high with 12, and then Costa Rica being high with 11. Then you can see an interesting taxonomic shift too. So in the Atlantic Ocean, you have a lot more diversity. More so with the hammerheads. Actually, a lot of critically endangered sharks in the Atlantic Ocean. So actually, this is really fascinating. So this guide is color coded by endangered status, and it's also kind of plotted out by phylogeny. So, in the Pacific, you see horn sharks, which don't occur in the Atlantic, and they're doing well. And then a lot of smoothhounds, including leopard shark, which aren't occurring in the Atlantic either, and they're also doing well. In the Atlantic, you have white sharks, nurse sharks, lemon sharks, spinner sharks, a lot of sharp-nosed sharks, and they vary in their status. The hammerhead sharks is a higher hammerhead diversity, and they are not doing well at all. Carcharodon porosus and Carcharodon oxyrhynchus, I'm not sure what this species is. Carcharodon oxyrhynchus, what is this? The dagger-nosed shark. So that's why. It used to be called Isogomphidon. So, Isogomphidon. But I guess it got reassigned to Carcharodon. So this one is, there we go. This is the dagger-nosed shark. So, I didn't realize it got reassigned, but this one is critically endangered. So a lot of the small Carcharodonids and the hammerheads are critically endangered on the Atlantic side. You have the whitenose shark, which is endangered, and the Pacific small-tail shark, which is critically endangered, as well as the bonnethead shark and Pacific nurse shark endangered on the Pacific side. So it looks like the Atlantic side has more of a negative conservation impact than the Pacific side, but regardless of side, the larger sharks are definitely taking a huge conservation hit. The smaller sharks are doing a little bit better. There's definitely exceptions though. Great hammerhead is critically endangered. The tiger shark is doing okay. And then the small-tail shark and the dagger-nosed shark are both doing really, really poorly. So interesting. This study highlights that many lazarus species inhabit estuarine mangrove habitats across the American continent. However, several gaps remain, including basic biological traits such as individual sizes and stages of sexual maturity, as well as the frequency and duration of these incursions, and the habitat use of these shark and ray species in the American ecosystems, which should be addressed soon. This oversight diminishes the significance of cartilaginous fishes as predators and their sensitivity to ecosystem changes and human impacts. These findings underscore the importance of spatial habitat protection for the lazarus species. The species list presented in the study is not final, and just represents a step towards addressing the many gaps in understanding the relationship between mangroves and the lazarus banks. So, also a really good study. I will put this in the chat. All of these are really great. Just covering a diversity of topics for tonight, but they're all really, really good. This one, I don't see the whitenose shark coming up. I just want to... Richness and distribution patterns of marine lives banks in Colombia. I just want to see if the whitenose shark makes a significant appearance here. It looks like it's probably... Yeah, it's included on a checklist, but I don't see anything on... let's see if we can find it. Yeah, it's not going to show up here. What about here? Oh, it does show up here, so... This study might be kind of interesting. Oops. This might be the last one for tonight, but this is a fisheries report from the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, or FAO. So, 7th FAO Expert Advisory Panel for the Assessment of Proposals to Amend Appendices 1 and 2 of CITES concerning commercially exploited aquatic species. So, we talked about CITES before, but this is really very important shark conservation body. I think before we conclude with this, I'm going to check if the whitenose shark shows up in anything else. Okay, kind of doesn't. Okay, so I think we'll finish with this here. So I think this is going to review the whitenose shark's candidacy for CITES. So here we go. The expert panel considered the following 6 proposals submitted to the 19th conference of the parties as sites. Let's see. The proposal lists all 19 shark. Okay, so COP19 Proposal 37. Proposal to include 19 shark species in the family Carcharodontidae in Appendix 2 in accordance with Article 2, Paragraph 2A of the Convention and satisfying criteria A and B in Annex 2. A lot of legalese, but basically they're asking. There's a proposal to add more sharks to CITES Appendix 2, granting them higher protection status. The proposal lists all 19 shark species of the family Carcharodontidae does not meet the CITES criteria as a single proposal. The FAO expert panel analyzed available scientific data and technical information for the species in Proposal 37 and determined 3 species meet the CITES Appendix 2 listing criteria. The gray reef shark, Carcharodontis amblyrhynchos, the small-tail shark, Carcharodontis porosus, and the Ganges shark, Glyphis gangeticus. It also determined 12 species do not meet the CITES Appendix 2 listing criteria. That includes the Borneo shark, which we actually talked about on one stream, and this one is critically endangered. Borneo shark, Pacific small-tail shark, which is also critically endangered. This is actually kind of wild. The Pondicherry shark, which is incredibly endangered. Wait, what? The lost shark. So the Pondicherry shark and the lost shark are the 2 species that we think might actually be extinct. Those 2 species might have gone extinct. And it's kind of interesting that they're not meeting CITES criteria, and I wonder why. The Daggernose shark, which we saw in the previous slide, is critically endangered. The Borneo broadfin shark, the Whitenose shark, Nasolamia velox, so our species, the white cheek shark, which is also critically endangered, the dusky shark, which is very endangered, and then the sandbar shark, which is endangered. For further 4 species, there's insufficient data to make a determination. The blacknose shark, smooth-tooth blacktip shark, broadfin shark, and sharp-toothed lemon shark. The FAO expert panel recommends a consideration of separate proposals for these species assessed to meet the CITES Appendix 2 listing criteria. Interesting. Let's see. So evaluation of the proposals. The expert panel considered the following 6 proposals. So this is the one that we just read. Okay. So the proposal was to include them. The expert panel found that for 9 of the 19 species, there was no evidence of international trade, and therefore the species were considered not to have met the CITES criteria for affected by trade. So that would make sense maybe for the lost shark or the Pondicherry shark, because potentially, I mean, if they're not being traded at all, then they can't be listed, which is kind of interesting. These 9 species were excluded from further review by the expert panel. The expert panel reviewed the remaining species and found that 3 species met the criteria for CITES listing, 3 did not, and data information were insufficient for another 4 to allow evaluation. These 4 evaluated as unknown in terms of the CITES criteria. The expert panel also reviewed the list of look-alike species included in the proposal. The proposal failed to mention that the family Carcharodontidae have a range of distinctly different sizes and morphological appearances, which means that many of the proposed species can be readily differentiated from each other when in trade. The panel also noted the proposed list of lookalikes was more extensive than the species proposed, 35 lookalikes to 19 proposed species, and of acceptable impact on international trade to a greater degree than the species for which the listing is proposed. Thus, any listing of this list of 35 species would have substantial socioeconomic surveillance, enforcement, and prosecution implications far in excess of those proposed for listing. So this is really fascinating, and actually really kind of sad. So I mentioned it in passing tonight, but we talked about it a lot. Carcharodontis as a genus is really tricky to tell apart, and this CITES proposal is really fascinating, where it actually there's a consequence of the reality that these sharks are hard to tell apart. In that, if you try to find protection for one shark, it's going to be really hard to enforce that protection and have that and like have a lookalike shark not be affected. Therefore, you have to prepare for a proposal with both the shark in question and a lookalike shark. And if a lookalike shark is doing well, but a shark in question, the shark proposed is not doing well, and you're getting punished for or penalized for fishing both species, that raises a lot of ethical questions, and it's just really interesting. And I'm trying to think of a good example. I mean, a lot of the sharks I feel like that look alike are similar in danger. The only thing I can think of at the top of my head is the sand devil, Squatina demeril, which is doing very well, and angel shark, squatina, which is critically endangered. But those species occupy such different ranges that it's actually really easy to keep their management separate. Yeah, this is a tricky. I've never seen this before, and this is actually really an interesting question and very tricky. The proposal to list all 19 shark species in the family Cochrainidae in Appendix 2 of CITES does not meet the CITES criteria as a single proposal. The expert panel recommended the consideration of separate proposals for the species assessed by the panel to meet the CITES Appendix 2 listing criteria. Let's see. So, as we saw, the gray reef shark, small tail shark, and Ganges shark met the criteria. Everybody else did not. This is actually interesting. The Borneo shark, Pacific small tail shark, Pondicherry shark, lost shark, Caribbean reef shark, night shark, daggernose shark, Borneo broadfin shark, and whitenose shark. There's not really trade going on with these species, so there's not enough trade to justify consideration, which is so interesting. The white cheek shark, dusky shark, and sandbar shark do have trade, but they don't meet the CITES criteria. And then finally, the whitenose shark, there's not a lot of trade apparently, but we know that it's being fished. And then finally, the black-nosed shark, smooth-tooth blacktip shark, broadfin shark, and sharp-toothed lemon-tooth shark, there's insufficient data to make an assessment. Interesting. Let's see. 9 species considered not to have met the CITES criteria for affected by trade were excluded from further consideration by the expert panel. For 7 species, no verifiable information on international trade was available in the proposal, so that's them. For further 2 species, a statement on trade was included in the proposal. However, the panel could find no evidence of species entering international trade. So this is a Pacific small-tailed shark and white-nosed shark. So they are traded locally but not internationally. Let's see. 3 species were not considered to meet the CITES biological criteria. The white cheek shark, owing to its continued abundance in catches and anecdotal evidence only of declines in part of its distribution. The dusky shark, essentially there's some evidence that it's not declining as much, which is sort of true. It's a very slow growing species, but there is some little glimmer of hope that it's starting to rebuild a little bit. That's sort of true. Sandbar shark, regionalized recovery, that's also sort of true. So, okay, so this is making like a little bit of sense, but yeah, interesting. Approach to the FAO expert panel when considering the proposal. The proposal includes 54 shark species. The proponent states that 19 species meet the conditions. Another 35 to 40 species in the family Cochrainidae are included in the proposal because the proponents state that they are lookalikes to 19 shark species. The FAO expert panel adopted the following steps as its approach to considering shark species proposed in Proposal 37. I'm just going to skip ahead to see if there's any more notes on the white-nosed shark. Species and family Conroe-Nicholls did not present references in national trade in a proposal and for which the expert panel found no evidence, which includes the white-nosed shark. Interesting. So this is actually a really interesting article in that, or not article, but publication where this is a preview, or not a preview, but a window into how decisions are made in terms of considering if a shark receives protection status or not. So pretty fascinating overall, and I'm glad we got to kind of see a preview of that where the white-nosed shark was considered, but the fact that it's traded locally is what prevents it from being listed in this proposal, or listed as a CITES Appendix 2 species, which is kind of fascinating. So, but I think since it's close to 11, we'll wrap up for tonight. But guys, thank you so much for watching and for learning more about the white-nosed shark, Nasolamia velox, the only member of the genus Nasolamia, so it was really cool to kind of dive into it a little bit and see, learn a little bit about the species specifically. And I think the biggest highlight was its diet, where based on the diet, we kind of inferred that the shark spends most of its time in sandy or muddy seabeds, in shallow water hunting drums and goose fishes, and then the infamous Humboldt squid. So it's kind of cool to see that for the species. And it was more of a research-heavy night, which is a nice little return to form. So a lot of cool articles on shark bite in general, and then also that last one on kind of how CITES works, and how carefully everything you viewed. Really concerned about if you list similar species with similar appearance risks involving too many shark species in the conservation effort, which sounds like a great thing, and I support it. It's a great thing, but it can have a huge economic impact in other places or in places around the world, and that does pose some problems. And it is interesting that these CITES listings are very carefully considered in the way both conservation impact to sharks, but also economic impact to people. It's just kind of fascinating to look at. So. But I think next week we'll do another shark species, another kind of mystery shark species, and kind of continue learning about new and obscure sharks. I read a really nice comment on the channel, I think a couple weeks ago, talking about how there's a lot of appreciation for reviewing obscure sharks and giving them more of a platform. So I'm glad we can continue to do that. But we'll pick a new one for next week. But until then, hope you all have a great rest of your week, and tune in next week for a new mystery shark that maybe deserves more conservation attention. But until then, cheers, have a good one, and I'll see you soon.